Welcome back, everybody. 7:47 a.m., October 15th, 2017. That's Eastern Time, and it is Sunday, almost through the weekend. Hope everyone's having a good one. Unless you live in areas like California, that's a really bad situation going on there. I'm going to update on the fires later on this afternoon. This video is going to be on Ophelia, heading towards Ireland and the UK. And then we have our disturbance here in the Atlantic, which is expected to move up to the east of the Bahamas, but then more than likely just going to be influenced by a very low dip in our jet stream. More than likely not going to be an issue, but we're still going to talk about it. And then we have a big disturbance, actually an invest. This one is Invest 91E in the Pacific Ocean. If it forms, it will be Tropical Storm Selma. So we're going to keep an eye on this. There's some wind patterns up here that are a little concerning, possibly putting the north part of the Baja and maybe Southern California. I don't know why I'm daring saying this, but this is what we're seeing on the chart. So we're going to take a look at this. We're at 80% over the next 48 hours and 80% over 5 days. So they're expecting this one to form, and then what happens after that we're going to have to look into. But again, these wind patterns are showing that this thing may come up pretty far north, almost parallel with Southern California, believe it or not. So we're going to take a look at that. And here is our disturbance right now in the Atlantic Ocean, which the chances have risen. Obviously, we're at 20% over 48 hours and then 50% over 5 days. Again, more than likely going to be pushed out by the jet stream. So we're going to talk about that now. Alright, here is our Caribbean, Gulf, and Atlantic Ocean water vapor chart. Now you can see our disturbance here. It is bubbling up along the Lesser Antilles and the Leeward Islands, and you can see it's sort of beginning to expand up in here with those storms popping up right around this area. Now you can see also why they think that this thing may form right in this area where my mouse is now. You can see a trail of water vapor coming down and then curling up and almost in a counterclockwise motion down through the Bahamas. Now, what this force seems to be, or it seems to want to do, is lure this thing up into this area right around here. Now, again, we also have the jet stream that is coming through right now. You can see the top wave of it right here moving through North Texas right now, which is actually causing some storms. You can see this whole strip here is thunderstorms. So we're getting rain here. There's been some tornado warnings up in this area, usually to the east side of these bands. So that's something to keep an eye on. But again, this jet stream wall is expected to come down all the way through Texas into the Gulf and over central Florida at least, and the timing of this is going to meet this thing right around here. So again, whether this forms or not, I don't see as of right now this thing being a threat. Not many of the weather channels or anyone else online believes so either. So this is a safe bet as of right now. Still important to watch it though, because if it becomes, the stronger it becomes, the less influence it'll be with this jet stream. So again, the jet stream is coming down. I brought up a second chart right here. You can see just how far this wall dips down. You can see it in the beginning frames. It starts right over central Texas, and then you see it push down this way, this blue line with the triangles, all the way through Florida, and that's basically going to act as like a force field. It's going to keep anything out of this area, so the timing couldn't be better. If this storm had formed earlier or was moving quicker, it may have been an issue for the Bahamas, possibly Florida, or the pocket here of Georgia, South, and North Carolina, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen unless something drastic happens with this jet stream and it gets held up like we've seen it do before. That would be our only shot at this thing actually becoming an issue. So for now, we're just going to keep an eye on it. We're going to touch base on it at least once a day, and that's where we're at with that. So now let's check out the West Coast storm. Alright, we don't look at this chart too often, but this is our Pacific Ocean water vapor chart. We got Hawaii down here, here's the Baja, and then obviously California. Now, they don't see any rain in the near future for any areas of California, even though you see this water vapor band here. This is wind also, wind currents. But down here we have our Invest. This is Invest 91E, which is has formed off the west side of Mexico, and it is moving in a west-northwest direction. So if you just take a visual look at this, you can see the momentum of this storm is moving west-northwest. So it's moving up in this direction. Now what happens when it gets to this area? You can see this wall of vapor here moving from west to east. So it's almost wanting to push all this moisture up into this area, and that is super close to Southern California. You can even see once you get up to this area, some of this vapor is peeling off and being pushed into the North Baja right here, just under Southern California. So that's why this is something to definitely keep an eye on. Also, with this counterclockwise spin going here, it's actually pulling this moisture up even farther north. So if this thing does end up forming, if 91E forms into Selma, which is the next Pacific storm name, we can easily see this thing getting influenced up into this direction. Now, anything that makes it past the border of the Baja in Southern California is very concerning to watch. We don't get many hurricanes up in California. Usually by the time any hurricane forms down here and does affect the southern areas of California, it's a tropical storm or less. So hopefully that's what happens with this storm too. Once again, the direction you can see right here is a west-northwest direction. Now, once it gets to this area, that's when we see that vapor starting to push in this direction. So it's all about where it forms. It may just take a loop around right here and go back into the Baja, but that is too close for comfort for Southern California. Definitely something to watch, especially with a system that's 80% over 2 days. That's almost a guarantee to form. If you guys remember from our storms earlier in the year, Irma, Harvey, Maria, all hit those 80% numbers. I think one of them was only hit 70%, but still, those are very high numbers. So you can just see with your eyes the momentum here is pushing everything to the north, west, northwest, and then we get to this area and it could possibly hook into this direction. So we need to watch this. We're going to see how it develops. It could even form into a tropical depression as early as today. So that will be something to definitely watch, and once it forms that tight spin and gets very compact, it's going to be harder for this thing to break apart as it moves north. So we're going to keep an eye on it, guys. We have a Pacific system going on that may start moving north, putting Southern California at somewhat of a risk. All right, and as far as Ophelia goes, we're getting to crunch time for areas of Ireland and the UK. So the numbers for Ophelia, 105 mile an hour sustained winds as of right now, that's 90 knots. We have 964 as the pressure, so the pressure has risen from that 960 number, and that's why we had those wind speeds go from 115 back to the Category 2 status of 105. So obviously the jet stream and being pulled north very quickly is having an influence on the storm as well as the cooler waters, but we're going to expect it to expand, and that's why they're putting areas, all of Ireland, including Northern Ireland in the UK, and all of the UK basically in this wind field. So no matter what happens, the storm is going to cause effects. I do have, well, first here you can look. You can't see Ophelia in this radar chart here, but just to give an idea of why everything's being pulled north so quickly, it's our jet stream that's way up off the screen here, moving west to east very quickly, and it's beginning to pull all this moisture up very fast. That's why we're seeing those 35 mile an hour numbers. Okay, and here are the current spaghetti plots. We can still see that northern hike is going to get pretty dramatic as it gets closer or just to the south, starting in Ireland. So as of now, it looks like the path will be Ireland first, and then we get into the UK areas of Northern Ireland, and then up through Scotland. So that does not put areas to the east of the Irish Sea out of the loop here, because the wind field is going to be so big, you can expect this whole area to be influenced. So especially the coasts here, there may be a lot of water pushed into the Irish Sea, putting a lot of these coasts in flood areas. So that is something to take into very hard look at, especially with this cone of uncertainty here. You see the entire west coast of Ireland, North Ireland, and Scotland inside this cone. Even though we don't see the Irish Sea in the cone, that does not mean it won't be affected. Once this storm starts hiking north really quickly, that wind field is going to expand dramatically. We're in cooler waters, and because of just the speed it's moving at, it's going to widen out. It's not going to be those super crazy strong winds for long periods of time. You're going to get those hurricane force gusts for sure, and then just that wider wind field means less strength but more wind. So there's going to be a lot of wind, a lot of rain. And again, those coasts are really what we need to worry about as far as Ireland and then up into the UK, North Ireland, and Scotland. So here are the time frames right now, guys. We're at Sunday as of now. By 2 a.m. Monday, it's expected to be just to the southwest of Ireland, the west coast of Ireland. And then by 2 p.m. Monday, we're already making landfall. So in between 2 a.m. Monday and 2 p.m. Monday, that 12-hour period, that's when they expect this thing to begin making landfalls in Ireland. And then it says right here, Monday 2 p.m. would be where it is on the border of Northern Ireland and Ireland. And then the next day, Tuesday, early morning hours, probably overnight, unfortunately, we're going to be dealing with those areas in Scotland. So it's time to prepare for this one, guys. It may not be a hurricane. You can see it switches here from H to S. So it may be a hurricane when it makes landfall here. It may not. But still, those winds are going to be pretty intense. There's going to be a lot of rain. And again, these coastal areas, guys, the most important areas. These are basically islands here. They are big areas, but a lot of coastline, and especially the Irish Sea. Now, if this thing is still spinning counterclockwise, you got to understand that counterclockwise movement is going to pull water into the Irish Sea. And that, even though the cone isn't over these areas, the St. George's Channel is over here, areas like that. Just because you're not in the cone, you got to understand that momentum is turning counterclockwise still, even though it's being pulled up north very quickly, and it's going to suck all that water into here. So flooding, wind, rain, all that stuff is coming to these areas. I will have an update with it in the fire update later on. I got a couple things to do this morning, but I will be back this afternoon, guys. Thank you for your patience, and we'll meet back here shortly. Have a good day. Bye-bye.